In this world, an ordinary man lived on, having missed his one chance at becoming a player. He drops by the guild office, fashionably late as always, leaves a small offering of food, and then heads out. While heading home, his eyes land on a poster of a powerful young Korean player. He couldn't tear his gaze away. His heart a mix of awe for their talent and a deep longing for everything they had. The players cast dazzling spells to combat monsters, living a life torn from the pages of a fantasy story. He was so lost in thought he didn't even notice the light had turned green. After a long day, he finally arrived home and checked his mailbox. As usual, it was just bills and notices, no special letters. He sighed. He should have known better than to expect anything. The moment he walked through the door, his sister, Yu Young, greeted him with a huge, welcoming smile. He wonders why she's still up, and she tells him she's just finishing homework. He figures their mom is already asleep and offers to give his sister a shoulder rub. Yu Young's face lights up as she pulls out a chocolate cake, surprising him with a happy birthday wish. He immediately wonders if she spent her clothing money on it. But she just laughs, assuring him she has plenty of clothes and jokingly threatens to keep the cake from a really cool bakery all to herself if he doesn't want any. Even though Kim's own clothes are frayed and dirty, he's so touched he barely notices. He gently pats her head and thanks her for the cake. She giggles, reminding him to look at the letter that came with it before they eat. As he took a closer look at the envelope, he found an invitation to join the Korean Players Association. He stood frozen for a moment as it all sank in, just as Yu Young's warm arms wrapped around him in a hug, revealing her surprise. With his heart pounding in his chest, he glances into his mother's room, a sudden determination solidifying within him. He has to make a better life for them. The next morning, Kim stood before the imposing association building, taking deep breaths to steady his shaking hands. Once inside, a staff member shows him how to bring up his status window. His name and level appear on the screen, but his special abilities are obscured by question marks, leaving him completely puzzled. The staff member just shakes his head, explaining that those skills haven't manifested yet. A chill runs through him as he wonders if there's truly anything special inside him. Suddenly, he hears someone calling his name. It's Yusuka, the superstar player everyone knows, the one whose face is on all the posters. Yusuka offers to guide Kim through the process himself, causing the employee to hesitate since it's against protocol. But she relents. It's impossible to refuse someone like him. At the tower's entrance, Yusuka leads Kim straight through the glowing portal. Inside, they're met by a massive horde of goblins. When Kim asks if this is normal, Yusuka reassures him that monsters often swarm like this. Kim doesn't see this as a problem, but as the perfect chance to learn the basics. Yusuka explains the first test: defeat 100 goblins without using any special skills. Then, without a moment's hesitation, Yusuka leaps into action, cutting through the goblins as if they weren't even there. He explains that for a normal player, this task would take about 4 or 5 hours. Kim watches in awe, knowing that elite players can finish it in under an hour, and the most gifted heroes, the ones with special powers, can finish in just 10 minutes. Yusuka isn't just boasting. He's about to prove it. With unbelievable speed, he charges through the horde, cutting down goblin after goblin until, in just 47 seconds, the battlefield is silent. Kim is stunned. Top rankers take an hour. The gifted take 10 minutes. Yet, Yusuka cleared it all in less than a minute. Seeing Kim's confusion, Yusuka explains that special powers allow players to achieve in months. What? Would take a normal person years. Just as they were about to finish, he asks if Kim has ever heard of the Angela Guild, which is famous for its young, talented members. He's trying to recruit the most talented players with special powers to build an even stronger guild. Before leaving, he leaves one last goblin standing and tells Kim, "It's time for your first real battle." As the goblin lunges, its axe held high, Kim stands his ground with his sword at the ready, prepared to carve his own path. 5 years later, a sword whistles through the air, forcing a terrified goblin to leap back. Kim stood his ground, breathing heavily. Not far off, a curly-haired man and his armored friend chattered about the Hun Goblin challenge making a comeback. Kim glared at his status window, slamming his fist on the ground in frustration. Even with his powers, it took over an hour to take down one goblin. He joined Kim's group at 18. Yet, after 5 long years, he's still stuck at level 1. The scene shifts to a forest where a goblin lies perfectly sliced in 2. Kim congratulates the group on their hard work, then checks to see if anyone has leveled up. One guy grinned, admitting he managed it after just a few takedowns. Kim chuckles, remarking that leveling is a breeze right now and promising they'll reach the 2nd floor by tomorrow. Before taking off, he tells them to meet him at the entrance bright and early. As Kim walked off, someone asked if he was famous, while another whispered about the strange rumors surrounding his unique ability. The leader gazes at the glowing goblin stone, musing that if the stories were true, Kim would never be stuck on the 1st floor working as a guide, while the brunette wonders if anyone below rank 2 even exists. The leader clarifies that Kim is unranked, but the gossip spreads anyway. Everyone calls him the unlucky guy who can never level up no matter what he does. Kim slips away to a quiet corner where a few other players are gathered. Sensing a goblin is about to spawn, he readies his sword. He swings down, but the goblin parries the blow with its wooden spear. Even small goblins are a headache for a new adventurer. After a long, hard fight, Kim finally takes it down. As the sun sets, Kim wanders through the guild hall, counting his meager earnings after selling the crystal and buying potions. He sighs in frustration, his pockets empty. The office door creaks open as Tayo walks out, his posture tense. Kim asks if he's done, and Tayo just nods silently. Kim steps inside and turns to ask Taz what's wrong. Averting his gaze, Tyke says Tayo is leading Kim's squad from now on. When Kim asks why, T blames the rumors surrounding their team. Before Kim can respond, a voice announces that the Angel Guild has just reached the 75th floor. The announcer shares that Angela aims to conquer the highest floor. The city is buzzing with excitement over the massive celebration planned for tomorrow. Kim remarks that fans treat players like gods, even though they're just regular people. Taz nods, agreeing that anyone can become a star. Kim stays silent as the report shifts to a dangerous S-rank gate opening in the US, with a huge reward on the line. The government is asking Korea for help, but Kim doesn't even flinch at the news. The screen flickers to black. Tick frowns, annoyed, wondering who turned it off. He hands Kim his pay, praising him for a job well done. He notes that while Tayo acts tough, his guilty expression says otherwise. Kim tells him not to worry about it. Taz then asks if she can start her next shift a bit earlier. Later, Kim finds Sunpill, Suku's cousin, waiting for him at the entrance. The unexpected sight catches him off guard, filling him with warm memories of Suku. The guide gathers the team to introduce Hwan, who is welcomed by Sung-woo and Hanil with warm smiles. Kim tells the group they have 5 days to master the tutorial floor before hitting the forest path to learn the basics. As the sun sets, the team wraps up training for a well-deserved break. While the others set up camp, Kim gets to work boiling some meat for a warm soup. Joan wonders if Kim's level will ever change, but Sanel tries to shut him down. Kim insists it's fine, telling them to ask whatever they want. Kim explains that the fight was easy because first-floor goblins are weak and simple. This floor is just a warm-up for the real battles ahead. As long as they stay sharp, they'll be ready for it. He warns them that powerful guardians protect each floor, challenging even the top guilds, but defeating them yields incredible rewards. Seeing Hanil and Sunpill trembling, Kim reassures them that guardian fights are rare and winnable with a solid strategy. As night falls on the 4th floor, a green orc sprints through the dead trees, only to trip and fall. Instantly, another orc rushes in and brutally strikes it down. Afterward, the guardian orc begins to absorb its fallen foe. On day 2 of training, the team faced large but sluggish monsters on the 2nd floor, making for an easier fight. By day 3, the camp erupts into chaos as goblins and orcs clash in a wild frenzy. A risky maneuver that Sunil soon realizes was all part of Kim's clever plan for the squad to safely gain powerful new skills. Later that night, Sunil spots Hanel quietly writing in her diary. As she frets about which class she'll be in, Sunil tries to answer her while brushing his teeth, making everyone laugh. After a night's rest, with just one day before they reach the 5th floor, the team prepares to move out. As our hero presses onward, his mind races, thinking about the tough obstacles ahead. When they reached the 4th floor, they found stronger and faster orcs and goblins waiting. So, someone suggested setting the same trap as before and charging forward with their attacks to push the orcs back. Our hero keeps a sharp eye on the team as a sudden gust of dust begins to swirl through the air. He signals for everyone to retreat quickly, sensing a guardian orc is nearby. He grabs his bag and bolts, but Juan trips and gets hurt just as a huge orc looms over him. As Sunil leaps in to take down the orc, the goblin sees the chance to injure Han. Kim knows that real training is serious. One careless slip could endanger the whole team. Suddenly, a giant protector emerges from the swirling dust just as the orcs charge forward to attack. Kim yells for everyone to run and throws a smoke bomb to cover their escape. Kim cuts through the chaos, shouting for everyone to keep moving until they find a hidden cave, where they can finally stop and catch their breath. DeMille asks about the strange monster, and our hero explains that it's the 4th floor's guardian, which appeared without any warning. He's panicking because Hanel won't wake up. The goblin's poison spear struck deep, leaving a nasty gash behind. Kim frantically rummages through his bag for the antidote, but it's nowhere to be found. The item must have slipped out of his hands while they were running. He feels terrible about the mistake, but there's no time to dwell on it. The entire squad stares at him, holding their breath, waiting for him to come up with a plan. Kim stands and announces he's going outside to find help and will be right back. They warn him of the dangers, but Kim charges straight onto the tutorial floor like a hero and launches a flare into the sky. He quickly ducks behind a pile of rocks just as an orc walks past him. A guardian disrupts the monster's usual patterns, making it hard to guess how many are lurking nearby. With only one smoke shell left to signal his location, he knows he can't afford to fail. He chooses a new path to climb the hill and call for help in just 3 minutes. Before he can move, a huge orc lunges and knocks him down, leaving a crimson smear on his lips as his smoke bomb rolls away, filling the air with a thick cloud. Kim grits his teeth, forces himself up, snatches the signal pistol, and fires a shot straight into the sky. Kim makes a desperate break for it, using the thick smoke to push through the pain. He knows every corner of this place like the back of his hand. As he runs, he spots the entrance to the 5th floor test and hesitates for a second. Though he'd normally jump in without a thought, he's thinking of his family. At his level, stepping through that gate is a path to certain defeat. Even level 4 warriors stay clear of it. Caught between the pursuing guardian and the dark unknown, he must either run forward or be trapped. He takes a deep breath, clenches his fists, and steps forward. The doors creak open, and a sudden rush of bright light floods his vision. As the system check completes, a booming voice announces that all conditions have been met. Kim opened his eyes to a vast green field, where a robotic voice informed him that the challenge was simplified and a goat hunting test was beginning. He takes down the goat with almost no efforts. A flood of new alerts reveals he not only passed the test, but also unlocked a mysterious, unnamed power. Kim is stunned to find himself alive after the test that was supposed to be his last has finally ended. Before he can move, a sudden burst of dark energy freezes him in place. A voice called his name, but our hero was so terrified by the endless darkness that he barely heard. It cursed its bad luck for getting stuck with a clumsy newbie like Kim. It urges him to choose a name and form a bond. The system informs him he must name the entity requesting a response. Kim's eyes fly open to find his sister and Taz by his bed, shocked to see him awake. Taz explains that he was found unconscious on the 5th floor 2 weeks ago. When the guild players saw his signal flare, They raced over and witnessed the guardian retreating. Kim breathes a sigh of relief, knowing Sunil and the rest of the squad are safe. Later, standing by the window, he calls his mother to tell her insurance will cover everything. He promises to call her again as soon as the doctors give him the all-clear to leave. Even after clearing the 5th floor, he senses a definite shift, yet he realizes he's still on level 1. A ring suddenly materializes on his finger as he steps outside the Korean Association building. As Kim steps back through the portal, hushed rumors begin to ripple through the crowd. While newbies train on floor 1, all eyes are on him as he walks the forest path. Someone asks what makes Kim so famous. His friend explains that guides can no longer get any stronger. However, a gloved man steps forward saying that's no longer true. The heavy doors swing wide, revealing a terrifying swarm of towering orcs charging out. Kim, bearer of the infamous title tutorial killer, fearlessly faces the charging goblins, their weapons raised. Suddenly, the ring on his finger erupts with power, and a dark sword materializes in his hand. As he takes his fighting stance, a deep red aura flares to life around him. The monsters freeze, sensing the immense danger. Kim dashes forward, cutting them down in a single flash. His swinging blade paints the air with glowing trails of power. He leaps and strikes one last time, sending the monsters flying. In the midst of battle, he recalls Ego's plea for a name and, with a grin, decides to name it Lu. The status window flickered, and Ego showed a satisfied smile. Kim can synchronize with Ego, maintaining his own power while watching Lu grow stronger with each defeated foe. Kim glanced at the bag of purple stones, still trembling from facing just 2 orcs. Harvesting crystals from them was now a genuine challenge. A month ago, he was chilling in a green forest and looking at his status window. And now it shows he's awakened a rare skill, Ego Link. He's glad he bolted for the tower right after leaving the hospital, even if his sister will be livid. After 5 long years of no change, his status window finally updated, and he knew he couldn't stagnate. But he was clueless on how to actually contact his ego. He started shouting incantations and waving his arms wildly, but nothing happened. Kim sat down dejectedly, realizing how ridiculous he must look to everyone. Just as he's too embarrassed to say Lu's name, a sudden red flash erupts, summoning a floating sphere. "Lu has been called," Ego's voice announces, but currently lacks a physical form. Since Kim has no idea what to do, Lu has to take the lead. Suddenly, the sphere began gobbling the swirling energy around it, greedily sucking in everything nearby, including Kim's bag of crystals and the clothes off his back. The wind is so strong it nearly tears his underwear right off his body. As the swirling energy subsides, a black demonic sword drifts down to hover in midair. Kim stares at the sword in shock, thinking it really is Lu, only for the blade's red eye to snap open and call him an idiot. Kim grabs the hilt, wondering what an ego actually is. He guesses it's something like a soul, but Lu immediately shuts him down, saying he's not even close. Lu, now cradled in Kim's hands, complains about being handled so delicately. When Kim asks if he can move on his own, Lu gives a firm no. He then wonders if an ego can have a new owner. Lu says that only happens if the current owner consents. Before Kim can ask more, Lu warns him that if the owner is eliminated, the ego's spirit fades too, making any betrayal pointless. Kim, drawn in by the mystery, presses Lu about whether he can feel pain, only to get another evasive answer. Without hesitation, he reaches out and grabs the stone. A pop-up window asks if he wants to experience sensation. He clicks yes, determined to show Ego what it's like to feel. After defeating the last orc, Lu grew stronger and leveled up. Watching his stats rise with each defeated foe, the battle over, Kim realized Lu was a seasoned veteran and grew curious, so he asks Lu if he ever thinks about his past. Lu confesses the memories awaken a destructive urge so strong, he feels ashamed. The comment startles Kim, but Lu quickly praises his calm demeanor and changes the subject. They finish their hunt, their backpacks heavy with crystals. Kim urges him to use the gate next time, but Tasik shakes his head, warning him against it. 4 American soldiers were recently lost after they mistakenly entered a dangerous C-rank gate, thinking it was a harmless F-rank entrance. For the first time in 23 years, these strange gates began appearing right around when Kim met Liu. He casually shrugs it off and lifts his glass for a drink. Taz gives him another warning, but Kim says nothing and walks away. She thanks him as Taz jokes about his tutorial killer title, telling him to cut it out. As the elevator doors slide open, Kim glances at his phone. With his funds nearly gone from loan payments, he knows this is his only option. He scrolls through gatekeeper job listings, taps on one with a hopeful grin, and dials the number, certain that everything will be fine. Later, Kim runs into his squad leader Sue while grabbing a coffee. After a brief intro, Sue wonders if this is Kim's first gate run. When Kim nods, he hands over a contract outlining reward shares and potential penalties. After they pick gear by lottery, Sue warns Kim that lateness isn't an option and tells him to meet at Guri Station in 2 days once he's finished reading. When the day of the raid arrives, a crowd of hunters gathers before the gates, preferring these safer, low-loot routes because they are much easier to manage. The team ventures deeper into the shadowy dungeon together. Kim spots 2 new swordsmen leading the way with a boy and a girl following. He wonders how the best team up since they all met online for this gig. Suddenly, Sunu throws up a hand, demanding everyone freeze. A strange noise echoes from the deeper, darker parts of the dungeon. An archer draws his bow, shouting a warning that monsters are coming. A massive horde of the undead surges toward them. Sue screams a warning to the tank, who slams his shield up just as a monster collides with it. As the swordsmen rush forward, Jongsu lets an arrow fly, striking an undead creature squarely in the forehead. Even when struck down, the undead remained incredibly difficult to finish off. In a flash, Kim leaps forward, cutting through the horde with incredible speed until every last one is dispatched. The entire team stands frozen, stunned by what they just witnessed. Before Sang-soo could loose another arrow, the battle was already over. So the group takes a break by the dungeon wall. While the tank notes how much faster they're clearing things with Kim around, a swordsman notices that Kim's fighting style is far too advanced for a level 7 player. But Kim just shrugs it off, claiming it was just a lucky break. They laugh together, recalling how effortlessly he handled the monsters, with one even joking about wanting to join his team. Jung Suj, however, eyes locked on his arrows, tunes out the chatter. While the others admit they owe Kim their safety, Sang-soo cuts in, urging them to get a move on. Kim went to check on Liu, who was grumbling about the awful taste of the zombie ichor. Kim dismisses the concern, declaring that the boss room is sealed tight. They spot him slipping into the shadows, leaning in to whisper with his partner while sharing nervous glances. Inside the boss room, they discover massive steel bars blocking their path, likely set there to contain the monster. Tong begins to explain his plan, but the tank cuts him off, reminding him that they already know the drill. Sue's frown deepens as he warns his team that a single mistake could ruin everything. The blonde swordsman mutters in annoyance while the sorceress clenches her jaw. But Sue's piercing gaze silences them both. He dissolves the metal bars with a strange liquid and slips into the boss's room without a sound. Jong-su scales a high rock ledge and fires a lightning-infused arrow, striking the giant monster with a powerful boom. The boss, enraged with burning eyes, lashes out with wildly swinging fists. Baeon raises his shield to block the attack, but Taik smashes right through it, sending him flying while the swordsmen rush in to slash at the boss's tough hide. Suddenly, the boss changes tactics, curling into a ball to shield its head, which boosts its defense so high that further attacks are useless. The squad leader signals Kim to strike. His strength is their only hope, and Kim leaps high into the air, sword held high. As he soars, a voice in his head tells him his bond with Liu is strengthening. Kim swings hard, sending a crackling bolt of red lightning through the air. The swordsman and the tank stared in awe as a message popped up, declaring the Talon Gate Guardian defeated and awarding experience points, leaving the girl. Sanguine, wide-eyed with shock, our hero freezes, unable to believe his eyes. Then suddenly, a new alert appears announcing he has unlocked a grim ability, Soul Absorption, which lets him grow stronger by consuming the essence of fallen foes. With the boss lying defeated in the center of the room, the squad takes a quiet moment to survey the aftermath. Ying Wang and the other swordsmen grab Kim's shoulders, demanding his number. But then Su snaps everyone to attention, proudly displaying a wicked dagger they found that can paralyze its target. As promised, he tells the group they'll draw lots to divide the loot. The tank ruffles Kim's hair, teasing him about wanting the dagger. Kim scowled and declared that whoever did the work should keep it, promising to stand by the worker, that the others just laughed at him for pretending not to notice. After 5 years of guiding others, Kim can usually spot what people are thinking. But something feels off about how they're acting. Across the room, Su and a girl sit perfectly still, but they are definitely hiding a secret. But the squad leader reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of bones, preparing to divide the spoils among them. The swordsman and the tank lock eyes before the tank leaps into the air and slashes his blade straight for Su's heart. Before the blade could strike, CE snatches the attacker's arm out of the air and flips him backward, sending the tank crashing to the ground, his teeth clenched. He glanced up, wondering if this was all a trick, but Kim stayed silent and gave no reply. He already knows everything, so if you make even one mistake, he will be ready to finish you instantly. Dio froze in his tracks, trembling with fear as he waited to see what Kim would do next. The tank insists it was all meant to be a joke, but Kim knows he nearly got Su taken out. Kim watches a girl with fiery eyes hold a dagger she drew in a flash. Kim didn't even see it happen, proving she's no mage, but something far stranger. Kim still remembers how Su didn't even flinch when a knife was held against him, just staring straight at the blade. He squints his eyes and demands to know who they truly are. To just smile says he was about to ask the same thing, while our boy wonders what they plan to do as with him. Yo was panicking, claiming he never expected Bong to hurt Su and just went along with the plan to get a reward. When Sunu was the target, Kim knew he had to make a call. The squad leader turns to the girl, calls her harem, and she jumps back as if she were caught in a dark, heavy fog. Kim gasped in shock when the sorceress suddenly materialized right beside Dio. In a single strike, the swordsman vanished. Kim can't help but think this girl is truly dangerous. Kim uses the exact same trick on Bong and makes him disappear right before our eyes. He dives to snatch the dagger from the floor and claims it as his own. When Su asks why Kim deserves the dagger for saving them, he simply shrugs and tells her the blade means nothing to them. Shaking with rage, Su demands to know if Kim finally understands who he is. Kim glances at the girl, figuring she must be someone special, but shakes his head and says it doesn't matter to him. He says he will move past Dio and Bonka right after bigger prey. Lu's glowing red eye flashes at Kim to warn him of Harem's deadly nature, but Kim, already knowing the truth, simply asks if they should just run away. Lu tells everyone to ignore the other monsters and pocket the treasure they find. A message suddenly appeared on the screen, revealing that Lu was stealing energy directly from the zombies. Kim, eager for more hunting, asks how it feels. But Lu grumbles that zombie essence tastes terrible before Kim turns his sword into a ring and heads back out of the empty dungeon. While the monsters were attacking, Lu used their power to grow stronger, faster, and more enduring. He considers stepping into the rewards room, where the only thing standing in their way is the fallen gatekeeper sprawled on the floor, a figure they must move to claim their prize. Just as he reached out to touch the figure, a strange glow on the wall caught his eye, and he wondered if that light had been there all along. He taps the glowing stone and finds it is empty inside. He seizes his sword, proposes smashing through the wall, and Ego agrees to the plan. As Lu moves to stop him at the last possible moment, he swings his sword anyway, causing the wall to crash down in a cloud of dust that Kim simply waves away while asking what Lu can feel. Lu answers that it feels as though a second self has appeared. Kim's eyes go wide with shock. He can't help but wonder where Ego has been hiding for 5 years. Even though that guy keeps popping up in every dungeon he checks. He nearly blurts out that his master is an idiot, but stops himself to suggest they look for Ego instead. Kim doesn't think that Ancient Gate hides any secrets, but Lu disagrees. Right in the center of the room, a white sword known as Excalibur is stuck fast into a stone. Kim stands there, wondering if he should just grab it. As soon as his fingers grip the hilt, a sudden flash of bright light floods the room. As he hears the sword's inner voice calling out for its owner to arrive, he finds himself standing in a bright, familiar white space, wondering if that spirit is the blade's own mind before it demands his answer. Kim drifted through the light fog, telling it that he was not its master, but wished to become one. The voice asked for a name, and Kim quickly shouted that he would call it L. Just as he caught sight of the white sword appearing in his grip, the ceiling of the hidden room began to crack and fall apart. A message flashes, a warning that the demon bound to L has finally awakened. As stones crash down, Ego screams for Kim to escape, while the two egos start arguing over who gets to go first. Kim sprints out and yells for everyone to be quiet. He sees Talon's still form and runs for the reward room, only to find the floor crumbling beneath his feet. Kim felt the coldness of his fallen boss as the system immediately asked if he wanted to step into the reward room. He is wrapped in a sudden rush of power that fills the air around him like a soft, glowing mist. The moment a giant orange eye appeared by the gate, he vanished instantly. With the gate gone and a bonus reward in hand, Kim watches as a crowd gathers at the dungeon entrance. While a news anchor reports on the mysterious disappearance and spreading rumors, he knew that vanishing right after he left could make him look suspicious. After receiving 30 purple crystals and a blue guardian amulet that boosts his energy and keeps minor sicknesses away, he realizes the magic item cannot save his mother. Even so, selling those crystals should earn enough money for her treatment. Kim made up his mind to climb the tower once more. Since the monsters vanished from the testing floor, a city now rises on the 5th level. Surrounded by the crowd, he couldn't help but stare in awe, remembering how he had once jumped from the 5th floor, only to wake up unconscious on the 6th. He shoots down the blue dragons with the skill of an ace pilot. With just a few swings of his sword, he clears the goblins on the 7th floor, then unleashes lightning to zap the dragon mob on the 8th. He stands high on the 9th floor, holding 2 gleaming swords while surrounded by sharp rocks. A short while ago, he never could have imagined holding such power. He even recalls Suku telling him that his true strength isn't about his level, but will bloom if he keeps pushing forward. Kim smiles at his glowing rings, happy that his power has grown from that strange split event, and while he wonders if the sealed giant eye inside L is the reason, L only apologizes for having no memory of it. Kim sees that Lu's ego is growing stronger, so he glances at his info window and decides it's time to hunt for more ego. As Lu asks where Kim is off to, he grins and says he knows the perfect spot. This scene shifts to an auction hall where bidders compete over an old vase until it sells for a massive 170 million. Kim looks into the crowd and wonders if egos feel anything. And since the rings confirm he doesn't, it makes sense because he's so rare. Next, the auctioneer reveals the final prize, a bracelet that dramatically speeds up healing. It was a big shock to learn that rings were actually a symbol of pride. As Kim walks down the street with a frown, he complains that the auction was too tiring and expensive. Lu reminds him that the bracelet is the main prize, while L mocks him for being broke. Even so, Kim grins because his dagger, said to be powerful enough to stop anyone in their tracks, just sold for nearly 100 million. Once he's out of the store, he calls Taz to say that gathering a team is much tougher than battling monsters. Taz gives him a serious warning to watch out for anything strange near the gates. Kim stood at the crosswalk, thinking that being stuck at the 1st level without gear meant he couldn't level up or come up with his own strategies. With little else to do, he laughs with Taz about logging on to celebrate his new rank. Kim watches Lu climb the tower at a slow pace, since Lu must constantly feed on life essence to stay strong. He shows off his fresh purchase of beef, but Lu jokes about him being cheap even after earning a fortune, only to rush and apologize when Kim gives him a look. Kim tells the story of how he has always worked hard to earn money so that Yu Yong would feel safe and secure. While climbing the stairs, he spots something gleaming that catches his attention. Suddenly, a spark of energy crackled through the air, making Kim wonder if another gate was appearing. Kim understands that if witnesses report the gate's hidden location to the association, their situation could become a real mess. Whoever finds the gate first gets to clear it and sell the rights. Taz keeps a sharp eye on the gate, guessing how close it is to Kim's house. But as he rushes to check on Kim, he suddenly chokes and spills coffee all over his clothes. Kim is now ready to step through the gate and claim his rights, but he must remember to stay safe. He praises Kim's progress and says he'd like to chat. At a cafe, Taz asks if Kim feels confident in his abilities, and Kim admits he's far stronger than he realized, confirming they are on the 11th floor. A fact Taz already knows. Pasek drops some heavy news on Kim, giving him just 4 days to get ready before they finally meet. If he isn't ready, no one will let him leave. 4 days later, deep in the headquarters basement, Kim stood, taking in the arsenal of weapons and gear lining the walls. Tick, thinking he'd misjudged the group, asked if Kim wanted to join officially or just associate with them. Kim declined both, not yet ready for that kind of commitment. With Tao's face still vivid in his mind, he mused that the guide team would be gone once Taik became chief. Ta reveals that Tao joined the Caravan Guild and has changed completely. As he rolled up his sleeves, Kim wondered if he had brought a weapon for their training. Taz chuckled, teasing that Kim must think he's some desk jockey to believe that. He gave a quick wink, clenching his hand into a tight fist, sweat beading on his forehead. Kim's eyes widened as he raised his hands defensively. A confident Taik warned him not to underestimate a top ranker, reminding him that he'd still got it. He lifted his hands as a dark aura enveloped him, challenging Kim to charge. Kim pulled his hand from his pocket. He admitted he couldn't beat the boss, but he refused to just stand by and do nothing. His amber eyes widened as the boss's foot flew straight for his head in a flash. Suddenly, a loud boom exploded right in front of him. He clenched his jaw, digging his heel firmly into the ground. As Tasek dropped to one knee, Kim leaped back, sword drawn. Dazek gave him a doubtful look, wondering if he was really prepared. Kim realized that the top-ranked players were on a completely different level. Kim frowned, telling him to get serious and warning that losing focus inside a gate meant it was game over. Kim scowled, admitting he'd been a bit arrogant. He clenched his jaw, telling himself that while he wasn't prepared for everything, he wasn't going in completely blind either. 4 days ago, we were at the game item market in Dongdaemun. Kim held his phone to his ear, pretending to be on a call as he complained to Lu that his current gear was pathetic. He glanced away, insisting he couldn't use gear like this, and suggested they look for an ego item instead. Elle told him she'd let him know the moment the package arrived. Kim walked by a shop selling combat gear, stopping to look at a plain metal armor with only 9 defense points. Through the glass, he saw mannequins dressed in military-style uniforms. He glanced at the price tag and winced. Just then, a glowing green display popped up, showcasing a leather armor set with a mind-blowing price of 1.3 billion. He slumped onto a bench, complaining that all the cheap items were useless, while the good stuff was way too expensive. Behind them, a child shouted defiantly, calling his grandfather a great master. Someone in the crowd scoffed, asking what was so special about gear with no item info. The boy grumbled and walked off, still bragging about his grandpa's skills, only for a man to retort that a shop with no sales is completely worthless. Kim then stepped up, asking the boy to take him to his grandpa's shop. The kid grinned and agreed, leading them down a staircase into a dark space. Kim was skeptical, but Lu and Elle didn't seem to mind, noting that the kid's outfit radiated confidence. That kid has some serious power, even if it's all borrowed. Grinning, the boy swung the door wide open, announcing they had a customer. As Kim stepped inside, Misu leaned in to boast about how amazing his grandpa was. Kim's eyes suddenly widened as if he'd seen something shocking. He entered the room with all his gear, only to find the space filled with nothing but his own pride and assumptions. They couldn't believe that ordinary people were crafting these items. But then they noticed the egos had no will of their own, feeling complete only when something was missing from them. Kim stood frozen before the glowing displays until a gray-haired man approached and told him to leave, warning that Kim would never see the true value of their wares. Old Man Wong, tired of being misunderstood, was shocked when Kim insisted he wanted to buy his items. Wong explained he doesn't sell his gear because most people wouldn't know how to use it properly. Kim asked if Wong would sell the items to someone who could actually use them, so Wong told him to look around and then leave. But Kim began listing the features of each weapon just by looking at them. Wong stared in shock as Ludley dared him to test the sword's power, and Kim simply nodded. Handing over another weapon, Wong revealed his deepest desire: to pass his creations to someone who will truly value them. With total confidence, Kim declared the weapon's true power to be its sharpness. Wong's jaw dropped, while Mizu stood frozen with wide eyes. Kim placed the weapon back on its stand as Elle teased that Wong really hated his new nickname. The blue-tiled room was so packed with weapons there was barely any space to move. As the training continued, Kim and Taz finally faced off. Kim moved like a flash, leaving 2 bright trails behind him, his stance firm. Taz effortlessly dodged the strike, calling out that Kim's sword was wavering and warning him to target vital spots with true force. Knowing his opponent was a former champion, Kim sharpened his focus for the fight. He swung once more, but Taz easily slipped away from the blow. Kim swung again, but Taz dodged with a simple roll. Just as he thought he was safe, Taz suddenly appeared right behind him. As Taz charged forward to strike, Kim's sword sliced through the air, painting a brilliant crimson arc. He dropped low to the ground just in time to slip past the next blow. Taz and Kim kept moving, their attacks never ceasing. He plunged both blades deep into the earth, sending Taz leaping backward with a powerful shockwave. They fought relentlessly, dashing across the training field without a single pause. Kim's expression soured and he looked away. But Taz gritted his teeth, clenched his fist, and took a dangerous step forward. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Kim in the blacksmith's workshop, where a puzzled Lu observes that low-grade items are oddly particular about their owners. So Kim made one final attempt, touching the gear and naming it Brunhart. A bright flash signaled a successful bond. Kim smiled, but learned he couldn't communicate with the system yet. This meant he hadn't unlocked Brunhart's full power and would still take damage, though the system's high stats would absorb most of it. At that moment, Taz was ready to land a heavy punch on Kim, but the hero took the hit and was sent crashing into the wall. As he collapsed, he coughed hard, overcome by a wave of pain. Taz rolled an orange bottle across the floor and urged him to drink the potion to heal his internal injuries. Kim couldn't help but wonder why such an expensive drink was in such a cheap-looking bottle. Taz jumped in, saying he doubted our hero could even land a scratch, so he wasn't worried about the test. Suddenly, Taz realized what happened wasn't a fluke, but a deliberate trap set by Kim, leaving him feeling as if he'd completely misjudged his opponent. Kim gave him a quick word of thanks for all the equipment he had provided. Suddenly, a glowing portal opened. Taz warned that they had to clear it before agents arrived in a week. Kim had only 5 days before Taz would drag him out to save money on cheaper association staff. So even as they approached the gate, Taz warned Kim not to lower his guard. Not even against an F-rank opponent. Kim smiled, realizing that Taz cared for him like a father. Kim stepped through the shimmering gate, praying it wouldn't snap shut behind him. Lu questioned why a permanent gate was necessary, and Kim explained they had to clear it first to learn the truth. Unless it was a tricky tower or dungeon, he could earn a good living from it. A wolf lunged at him, but Kim took it down with a single, decisive blow. From the dark shadows, more wolves stepped forward, their eyes glowing with a menacing red light. Kim smiled with confidence, eager to crush his opponents and grow stronger. Just as the blue wolf lunged, the system ordered Lu to absorb its essence to boost his level with Kim. As the wolf leaped at Kim and bit down, he simply smiled back. Brunhart absorbed the blow and sent the damage right back at the wolf, creating a small explosion near its mouth that vanquished it instantly. After the battle, Kim fell to the floor to rest, realizing 5 hours had already passed. He checked his surroundings and noticed the enemies resembled the tough orcs he knew. This made the area hard to tackle alone, but he was feeling lucky today. He realized he needed to level up to check his true rating without gear, but if he relied too much on his gear, he'd remain stuck at level 1 and never see that true rating. Kim began to doubt whether Taz's methods were effective at all. Elle suggested that if he mastered his skills, they could soon speak to each other, no matter how far apart they were. Kim loved the plan, but felt stuck, unsure how to improve. Out of nowhere, Lu mentioned the ego leech. Kim glanced at Lu's screen again, unsure what to think, until he saw his new skill, cannibalism. He raised an eyebrow and teased, "Does this mean we start eating each other?" Lu watched in disbelief, but Kim just smirked and laughed, eager to move on. He reached into a bag of purple crystals and began imagining a magic backpack with extra storage space. He spotted a row of colorful bottles and chose the one that would increase his strength. Wanting to make room, he downed the potion and grumbled that he needed a boost, only for Lu to suddenly shout that he felt the strongest aura yet and suspected a boss monster was near. Kim nodded, confirming that the buffs were exactly what they needed. Walking deeper into the dark cave, he suddenly asked how long they'd been inside, afraid the magic potion would soon wear off. Meow. Sensing something is close, Kim turns just as Lu announces, "They are almost there." Spotting a light ahead, Kim admits that Elle was right. Lu tries to claim the credit, but Kim hushes him with a finger to his lips. As the spirit reassures them, their secret conversation can't be overheard anyway. After warning Lu to be respectful, Elle exits the dungeon to find Kim has already absorbed half the gate's energy. Approaching a tall rock, he realizes the boss standing before him is no ordinary foe like Talon. He then spots a gray wolf lying motionless on the ground. He wonders if the immense power radiating from this place comes from a monster no player has ever faced. Suddenly, the wolf's eyes snap open, glowing with a deep red light. The wolf rises with a wide grin, and Kim knows this must be the gate's guardian. Al and Lu warn him to be careful. Kim can already feel its power. It's on a completely different level than Telem. Kim raises his swords to block the wolf's sudden pounce, but the creature snaps its jaws, trying for a bite just as he parries the attack. He pulls back, gritting his teeth as he tightens his grip on the white sword. He swings his sword repeatedly, but each strike barely scratches the wolf's tough hide. Kim freezes as the wolf lets out a low growl, its eyes glowing menacingly. It bent over and shook the sword loose from its side. Suddenly, Kim is sent flying. After landing, he thrusts his swords into the ground for stability. He quickly realizes the wolf is stronger than it looks, but he endures the blows and presses on with the fight. The wolf growls, baring its sharp fangs. It reminds Kim of past grueling battles against powerful foes. Kim quickly drops his pack and leaps into the air, narrowly dodging the wolf as it lunges up to meet him. At that instant, the wolf charges again. Kim intercepts it, blocking the powerful bite. He thrusts the black sword deep into the wolf's eye and struggles to wrench it free. The wolf cries out in pain as Kim continues his assault until the beast wails and finally collapses. Once it stopped moving, Kim rushed to its side to catch his breath. As the potion's magic faded, Brunhart realized that without the elf's help, he would have been done for. Looking back, he sees that Telin was nothing compared to this beast. He steps forward to end the fight, thanking the wolf for allowing him to deliver the final blow. A system message announces the hunt is over, rewarding the player with a boost to their experience points. As the black sword absorbed the wolf's life essence and began to glow, a new message told him he was suddenly faster and gained a skill called cannibalism that restores his energy whenever he takes a big hit. Kim stood frozen, staring in shock at the messages before him, as Lu began consuming the fallen monster's remains. A few drops of its essence splattered right onto Kim. He clutches his sword, watching the wolf's form disintegrate, until the system announces that Lu has absorbed the wolf Chenyang and turned it into an ego, leaving Kim sitting on the ground with the crystal. He's confused as Lu admits he has never heard of a monster becoming an ego. Kim looks to Elle for an answer, but Elle is left speechless. Kim brings his hand to his face and looks away, lost in thought. He looks over at the black sword and asks Lu if the wolf's ego is now inside him. But Lu shakes his head and says no. Kim looks away, trying to make sense of things, then opens his status window to check his details. Kim's eyes go wide as he sees the wolf's name listed among the spirits he has collected. For a moment he almost shouted the skill's name, remembering how the entire place shook the last time he screamed. He decides it's best to save this new power for the future. He stood up, thrilled that his new cannibalism skill was proving to be quite useful. To top it off, he also acquired a shiny blue crystal that was far superior to the purple one. He already possessed. Full of confidence, he heads for the reward room, only to freeze in a panic, leaving the egos completely baffled by his abrupt change. Kim suddenly recalls the foe he just defeated and urges everyone to rush into the reward room, where he must touch the gatekeeper's remains to enter. He shouts that Lu consumed the wolf, feeling terrible, as if having the black sword made him a despised criminal, especially since the sun never sets inside the gates. Kim decides to begin his search on the second day. Lu calls the situation a waste of time, so Elle urges them to pack up and seek help before things get any worse. Kim refuses to go along, fearing that if strange things happen again, like in Guri City, everyone will start to suspect him. He knows the gate might collapse and cause a major disaster if he leaves, so he decides he has to handle it himself no matter what. Kim smiles when Elle praises his sense of duty, but Lu suspects his master is just covering his own mistakes. Kim hisses at Lu to keep quiet, noting that Taik will arrive in 4 days to help them escape the coming trouble. You'd be wise to settle on a choice before Taik arrives. It was the 3rd day, and Kim had looked everywhere, but found nothing. After taking a bite of the candy, he asks if destroying all the monsters is really worth it, and the spirits agree it's the right thing to do. Kim slashes through the wolf pack, clears the caves they missed, and brings the final enemies down. And the 5th day, Kim strikes a wolf down with one powerful blow and declares that it's the last one. Kim looks ahead, wondering what happens next, since Taik is arriving soon. Kim scanned the dark cave, wondering if he was about to cause a massive explosion. All at once, the spirits shouted in unison, and his eyes went wide as a golden light revealed Lu and Elle were right. The gate's power was pooling in one spot. Kim scowls, yelling out their location, and the spirits reply they're right where the gatekeeper usually hangs out. Back at the guild office, Taik admitted that if Kim had been a little later, he would have gone in himself. He wonders why Kim took so long to reveal the truth, when he could have cleared it all up in a few days. As he washed up, Kim told him he had managed to take down the gatekeeper on the very first day. But since the wolf's body vanished immediately, he couldn't reach the room where the reward waited. Taik wonders why Kim was late, and Kim explains that he had to finish off the last few monsters. Taik remembers seeing Kim carrying a bag heavy with crystals, and finally gets why there are so many everywhere. Kim says that once he takes down the final wolf, the gate's power will flood the boss room. He recalled Lu urging him to run faster. Kim shouts that he has reached his limit, but as he steps outside, a blinding golden light floods out so brightly that everything goes white. His eyes widened in shock, as if the whole world was converging in one spot, while Kim just stared at the glowing golden fragments floating into his hand. The system chimed in, letting him know he had gathered ego fragments and offering to take him to the reward room. Taik stood under the warm water, letting the spray wash over him as he tried to process everything that had just happened. Kim's theory that the gate was made of egos left him stunned. Taek offered Kim 50 million for the crystals, and he gratefully accepted. After stepping outside, Taek asks Kim if he's heading to the hospital, but Kim replies he's actually stopping by to see his family. Taek offered him a ride, and after a pause, Kim accepted. He looks away with an embarrassed shrug as Taek zooms off in his shiny pink car. Inside the hospital, Yujing's mother only cared that Kim was safe. So after a brief chat, Kim went to get his sister a soda, leaving Taek with her. She thanked him for watching over Kim, but Taek insisted he was usually the one being looked after. Meanwhile, Kim reminds Yi-young to relax for his exams, joking that he should buy her a guardian amulet. She playfully tells him to stop teasing. As the grandma strolls past, she stops to ask if he's Yoo-jung's older brother. Then she quickly looks away, squeezing Kim's hand and telling him he has great energy. He simply thanks her. But as the grandma is about to leave, she suddenly turns back to speak to him. He looks at her, confused, and she explains that powerful forces are clashing within him, so he must be careful not to lose himself. She offers him good wishes before he faces the challenges ahead. Kim glances at his hand, wondering if she noticed the rings. After finally getting some rest and loosening his stiff muscles, the doctor approaches him the next day, asking if he is Lujin's guardian. Kim nods and asks what's wrong. The doctor then asks to speak with him alone. The scene shifts to the guild office, where a group of players are chatting by the gate. One guy asks his friend if he wants to grab some soju. And while they're talking, they spot the famous tutorial slayer, Kim. A blonde man stepped up, introducing himself as a huge fan who just wanted to say hi. However, the moment he saw Kim, his smile vanished. Kim looked so stressed and empty, and he seemed completely disconnected from the world around him. He is trapped in a painful loop of the doctor's words, knowing his mother's muscles are severely damaged and her condition is grave. The doctor's explanation was textbook, but it was already too late. So Kim walked right through the gate without a word. He ignores the huge bull-like monsters before him, his mind a million miles away. The doctor's words kept replaying in his mind. No one knew what was making her so ill. All they could offer were apologies, saying she had only a few months left, maybe a year at most. Fueled by rage and guilt, Kim charged forward, believing his own hesitation had caused this. He sprinted at an impossible speed toward the monsters. He left nothing but a faint, fading light in his wake. Before the monsters could even react, he smashed right through them like an unstoppable force. He stood alone on a rain-drenched hill, waiting to crush anything that came his way. Lu worried he'd lost his mind and might be trying to throw everything away, urging him to hold on, while Elle added that their master's mom was very ill, and he was clearly struggling. Meanwhile, Kim made his way through the bustling crowd on the 90th floor, drawing everyone's attention with the heavy pack strapped to his back. A hush fell over the crowd as they whispered, wondering if he was hauling massive crystals or had been collecting for years. Unbelievable, since he'd only been hunting here for 2 weeks. A player from the Smurf Guild's Red Squad stepped up to Kim, eyeing his bag. He flashed a sly grin and joked about the weight, but it was obvious he was just after the precious gems inside. Kim didn't waste time with a reply. He drew his blade and pressed it to the man's throat. The man froze, but forced a cocky smirk, telling Kim he didn't know who he was messing with. With tired, red-rimmed eyes, Kim glared and ordered him to shut up. He gave a final warning to never touch another person's belongings again. The sheer pressure from Kim made the man's legs tremble. A fellow guild member stepped in and asked what was going on. The Smurf Guild backed off immediately as the bully shouted Kim's name and ran, screaming empty threats he'd never act on. Kim turned to the newcomer, who introduced himself as Sung-hyun from the Korean Players Association, and explained that he handled security on the 19th floor. He then asked Kim what happened. Kim simply said those guys were getting too interested in his things. Sung-hyun nodded and shrugged, figuring Kim was used to hauling that many crystals anyway. He casually guessed Kim's name, which seemed to surprise him a little. Later, Kim sat across from Taz and brought up Sung-hyun. Taz asked if he really had to drag an innocent person into this and make him a wanted criminal. Remembering Sung-hun's advice to ask Taz for a bonus, he finally brought it up. Taz just nodded and said, "Sure, no problem." Then Kim asked why Taz had summoned him. Taz explained that Kim entered the tower 2 weeks ago and hadn't been heard from since. Kim questioned if that was the only reason, and Taz's expression suddenly grew serious. He whispered that he might have found a way to get an elixir, a legendary potion that could heal his mother. Kim knew it was a super rare potion that could cure any illness. Taz confirmed that only 3 of these items had ever been discovered, with the very first one appearing when someone cleared the 50th floor, right after the tower first manifested. The other 2 were rewards from special gates. Taz, surprised Kim already knew this, prompted him to consider what those 2 gates had in common. Kim realized they were both maze gates notorious for their tough monsters, strict guardians, and dangerous traps. But since neither requires an ID, anyone can enter regardless of their rank. Taz warned him that a 3rd gate appeared in America 2 days ago, marking their last chance. Before Kim left, Taz told him to take a quick shower so he wouldn't worry his mom. He also promised to buy everything Kim had brought back from the tower. As Kim walked away, Taz let out a heavy sigh, knowing he'd have to help him again. Shortly after, Kim ran into Sung-hoon, who was clearly annoyed, but had been ordered by Taz to escort Kim to the gate and see if he was worth the bonus. Sung-hun stated that Taz had already handled the paperwork and packed their supplies, so they were ready to leave immediately. Kim asked for just one more moment before they left. The scene shifts to the 20th floor base, where a system message announces Kim has passed his test and acquired an rank synchronization skill. This upgrade boosts his ego, allowing him to channel up to 35% more power. Kim was more excited about getting a rare ranked skill than he had been about the test itself. Song soon noted that clearing the 20th floor test usually takes a full day, yet Kim did it in under 20 minutes. Shaking off his surprise, he urged Kim to get going. Kim asked about their flight, but Sung-hoon revealed they weren't taking one. Kim was confused until Sung-hoon clarified that they needed to go to the 5th floor. He explains that the massive tower is split into separate areas, so players from different lands rarely meet, yet the whole world remains connected. As Kim jumps into the elevator, he is amazed that it works at all since the tower has almost no power. But Sung-hoon tells him that the entire building acts like a giant artifact fueled by energy crystals. As the elevator doors slid open on the 5th floor, Kim was completely taken aback to discover the international transfer portal right in front of him. He never dreamed he would ever use the tool, which he had only heard was secretly controlled by global organizations. But now Sung-hoon reveals that only a very select few are allowed in, and that Taz is the one who made it possible for them. Standing before the massive US portal, Sung-hoon asks if Kim is ready to try the fastest ride around. And Kim grins at the fun-looking machine, even though he's not entirely sure if it counts as a real vehicle. After a short time, they finally touch down in Los Angeles. Kim looks over a list showing the 3 top helpers who will guard the gate. 3 legendary warriors stand ready: the ironclad protector of America, the wise goddess of Europe, and the terrifying Korean demon king with eyes that burn like fire. Kim begins to doubt whether he can really match up against such skilled players. Sunshan points out that this is the starting point for all the madness in the wild world. As the group stood before Hirian's maze and examined the gate, a nearby team of players noticed them and guessed they were Korean, only for the white-haired man named Bao to claim he had never seen Kim before and assumed he was working for the association. He uses his special power to take a good look at him. The purple-haired girl also checks and discovers that Kim has no stats, is only level 1, and possesses a unique skill that she cannot read. She asks Bao if he can find it, but he just as quickly gets lost. They both felt curious, and the girl smirked as she noted that Kim looked just like her type. Thinking that teaming up with him would be a blast, right up against the stone wall, a shadowy shape suddenly lunged forward out of nowhere. Kim doesn't lose his nerve and strikes with his blade. The moment a huge spider jumps at him, He shouts out Sunhoon's name and the man sprints forward to smash right into the spider's face. As the monster vanishes into thin air, Sunshun lets out a long breath he had been holding. Kim nods with a smile and says it's time to go. And Sunhun agrees because they have already been working for 15 hours. Kim reaches out to say thanks, and Sunhun jokes that since Kim is growing so fast, he should buy him a meal next time. They clasped hands before saying their goodbyes with their friendship still strong. A week after Sunhoon departed, Kim has become quite skilled at slaying those huge spiders. Yet, watching the same scary creatures return again and again leaves him feeling trapped and unable to move forward. He thinks the toughest enemies are probably hiding out deep near the boss room. Then he sees a glowing ball of white thread that Sunhun calls Arachne's one-way ticket back to safety. A rare emergency item Tacheki left behind that Kim had promised himself he wouldn't touch until he found the elixir. He stops short, and then a loud scream fills the air. Suddenly, the rings on his hand began to glow. Lightning crackled around him, and he drew his sword. He turns to the egos and asks if they heard that scream. But Lu jumps in to warn him that something feels wrong and he shouldn't go there. He stiffens with worry that this might be a trap. So both of his egos push him to check it out right now before things get too dangerous. As he looks closer, he sees a girl tied up and begging for help. But a strange feeling tells him that all is not well. He is puzzled by why she is inside the gate and fears it might be a dangerous trap. Just like an anglerfish waiting to swallow its prey. Kim pretends not to notice the girl, but he can't ignore her crying voice as she begs her mom for forgiveness because she has no money for her treatment. He freezes with a tight jaw, but Lu just rolls his eyes and calls it out as an obvious trap. That even a 9-year-old would see through. Kim clutches his sword and dashes ahead, slices through the vines, and grabs the girl in an instant. Later, they rest against a wall, and Kim wonders if Soo-young was separated from her team by accident. She explains that her special ability is enhancement, and that everything happened in the blink of an eye. Kim believes that even a 10-year-old might make the team if their skills finally start to shine, even though it is really hard for young kids to get on a squad, because skills that make people stronger are so hard to find. Soo-jung found herself in a very perilous situation. He gives her a simple kit that will keep her safe for just one day, holding on to the hope that someone might arrive to help her before then. Soo-young jumped up with tears streaming down her face, pleading with him to let her go along. He tells her to stop relying on him because players must learn to survive on their own, and there is simply nothing more he can offer. Soo-young clutches his sleeve, pleading with him not to leave and offering to help out. She admits she's brand new to this, but knows she has some special tricks up her sleeve. Kim pauses to think when she mentions the cash reward for taking part. He turns his back on her, vowing he won't return until the gates are cleared. The path ahead is dangerous, though they will split the prize. The life-saving elixir isn't for her. She looks surprised and asks if this means he is really bringing her along. Kim confirms it, but warns her that if she slows him down, he will simply leave her with another team because he isn't there to babysit. She shouted her thanks, and Kim realized that having an assistant made the hunt much simpler. In the middle of it all, Lu felt worse than ever. Suddenly, a giant ant creature bursts out from the trees. As it approached, Soo-young swiftly lifted her hands to buff him right after Kim gave the order. A surge of magic coiled around his legs. Kim didn't hesitate for a second, rushing forward and cutting through the monsters with sharp, precise blows. They fell one after another, like flies. Then, a different beast charged him head-on. Kim quickly ducked beneath it and then struck upward. Before anyone could blink, the beast went completely still and collapsed. A warning flashed across the screen announcing that Lu had just ingested the venom of a potent ant. 2 weeks have passed since Soo-young joined forces with Kim, and tracking their prey has become much simpler. As he gives her an item to consume, she beams with joy, knowing she's about to grow stronger once more. He offers his congratulations and she glows with pride, promising she'll soon catch up to him. Kim just smiles, secretly doubting it will happen. Suddenly, a strange sensation hits him and he jumps to his feet. He leaned in close and told Soo-young to keep perfectly still. Moving cautiously, he notices a powerful guild nearby led by Iron Shield, the #1 ranker in America. Kim couldn't help but think that if Iron Shield is as strong as everyone claims, he must have already sensed him. If they suspect he is tailing them and decide to strike, he has to get away right now. The wall he was hiding behind crumbles and a cloud of dust flies into the air. As the dust settles, he notices a massive sword embedded in the ground right before him. One of his men asks Iron why he threw his sword. He casually dismisses the worry, saying he thought he hurt someone, but the sensation has faded. While everyone else was distracted, Kim and Soo-young slipped quietly into the dark cave. She couldn't understand why they were hiding when they had done nothing wrong. Kim said that while meeting normally would have been fine, they had to be quiet because spying was against the rules. He noted that the attack felt too sudden and guessed that the group might have mistaken them for enemies. They paused briefly to catch their breath. She asked what to do next, so Kim told her to follow the Iron Guild's tracks from a safe distance. This way, they'll have a better shot at finding their way without being spotted. As they follow the Iron Guild's path, Kim points out the red circles on the walls, explaining that they mark where monsters have been defeated and traps disarmed, urging her to rush ahead so they can reach the boss room first. Then he spots Soo-young suddenly running away, and he can't help but wonder where she's going. He peeks forward, but his gut instinct screams for him to dive for cover just as something hurtles toward him. Suddenly, Iron Shield appears right behind Kim. He tries to turn, but the man grabs him by the head and slams him into the ground. Kim can't believe he's already fading out from just one hit. After a moment, Kim slowly opens his eyes only to find Iron's furious face right in front of him as he delivers a hard slap. Iron seizes his hair and yanks his head upward. He furiously shouts at the man to reveal who sent him, screaming that he is a spy. Kim muttered a curse. When he heard the word spy, he realized the man thought he was sneaking around. Iron glared at him, demanding to know how he fooled his senses and promising that if Kim gave the right answer, it would be over quickly. Kim yells that he isn't a spy, he's just looking for some gear. Iron pauses in shock when he realizes Kim can't speak a word of English. This causes some of his guildmates to wonder if Kim is just pretending. Iron realizes it's smarter to let Rogers take charge and quietly steps back. As Rogers' hand gets closer, Kim instantly recognizes him as a famous Korean American and quietly wonders if Rogers has a clue about his own heritage. Rogers dug into Kim's gear, grabbing a bag of potions. He praised their high quality before apologizing for their rough welcome, explaining their guildmaster was under a lot of pressure. Kim, however, was caught off guard by Rogers' friendly tone. He assumed they just wanted to talk, with Rogers acting as translator. But then Rogers demanded to know why Kim was spying on them and messing with their boss. Kim explained it was all a big misunderstanding and that he was just out here hunting alone. Rogers chuckled and looked away, insisting he didn't have any tricks up his sleeve since they already knew and had let it happen. He then summoned a dagger from thin air, leaving Kim staring at the sharp blade in pure confusion. A heartbeat later, a fierce jolt of pain shot through him as the dagger was driven deep into his leg. With a terrible cry of pain, Rogers forced the blade even deeper into his side. As Rogers screamed insults, tormenting Kim for his mind games, a bystander whispered to Iron that Kim's weird swords were useless, since they had no stats, and couldn't even scratch an orc's skin. Iron simply said that he would take care of them back at his workshop. He nodded, agreeing that every other sword looked like junk compared to Iron's weapon. Later, Rogers started tossing potions around just to taunt Kim, poking and prodding his injuries for fun. Kim gritted his teeth in pain as Rogers kept demanding to know who he worked for. He finally confessed that his hunting story was a lie, and that he was actually out here alone. Rogers struck him once more, this time in a burst of fury. He insisted they had already checked Kim's stats and that the rope was just basic gear, adding that any real hunter would have escaped by now. He then produced a dagger, warning Kim to stop playing dumb or face the consequences. Rogers kept yelling until Iron finally stepped in, telling him it was time to break for lunch. As he left, Rogers punched Kim in the stomach and warned him to think things over carefully. Kim lay there frustrated with himself for forgetting his own warning to stay humble. By spending too much time with Tick, he'd forgotten his own limits and now saw that the impossible task of clearing the maze gate wasn't just bad luck. It was the result of relying on borrowed gear instead of his own skills. Suddenly, a girl appeared out of nowhere, casting a spell to observe them from a distance. Leading her guild, she informed her master that their target was just 2 kilometers out. Noting the Iron Guild was likely sweeping the base, she then looked to her guildmaster for their next move, only to find him watching in silence. Then the worst became clear. The Iron Guild had broken 27 of Kim's fingers and toes, shattered 63 of his bones, and left 21 blades in his body. His swollen face said it all. He was about to give up. They had struck him over 200 times and kept him tied in that same spot, immobile for 4 full days. Now, the entire Iron Guild surrounded Kim as their master told him he would have taken him in if he'd shown even a shred of talent. He urged Bruce to step forward and take one of Kim's swords. He claimed he'd meant to recycle the item, but now he would honor Kim by using it to finish him off and bury him right at the gate. He called it an honorable end, as if that label somehow made what was happening any better. He lifted Lou, glanced at Kim, and promised he would let him go without any more trouble. He then dropped to his knees, pushed the blade against Kim's stomach, and thrust it in. A crimson spray hit Kim's eyes, making the world around him slowly fade away. Just as he reconnected with Lou, a flood of red mana healed him. The guildmaster was left completely stunned. Kim snapped the ropes, crashed against the stone, seized Lou, and pressed the blade right against Iron's throat. As the guild members drew their weapons, Iron remained cool and casually stepped forward to grab Lou. He suspected Kim held a dangerous power that felt as dark as a demon king's, leading him to believe the girl chose him for a specific reason. Iron believed she was just toying with him for her own amusement. Kim struggled against Iron in vain, realizing he couldn't inflict any harm. Meanwhile, Iron was shocked that Kim had slipped past all his defenses, something not even a demon king could do, and invited him to talk. Kim saw his options dwindling and began planning a long-range attack. Suddenly, a voice screamed, "Attack!" Then, an arrow shot out of nowhere, piercing Iron's hand. He recognized one of Artemis's arrows and panicked, wondering if Athena was involved. A mocking voice laughed. "It's been a while." Iron crushed the arrow in his palm and roared that her guild had just declared war. Anna replied that the fight between them had never really stopped. She prepared her next shot using a special skill that compressed the air into a super-powered arrow. As she released the string, it rocketed forward with a deafening boom. Iron snatches his sword and drives it hard into the earth, instantly raising a magical wall that halts the flying arrow dead in its path. The blast sends a shockwave through the earth, making the ground tremble violently. After the smoke settles, Iron tells Rogers to keep a close watch on Kim and make sure he stays safe. He spins around to look at Athena's guild and shouts the command for his army to charge forward. The strongest guilds fight fiercely, leveling mountains and crushing trees as they tear through everything in their way. Rogers watches the battle and admits that the mere sound sends shivers down his spine. Some people claim the fighters seem more like gods than actual humans. Then he saw Kim standing, looking like she could barely hold herself together. Gomez just shrugs and suggests they take out Kim and pretend he never showed up. Before Kim could even move, Rogers vanished and suddenly appeared right in front of him, declaring that he couldn't let Kim get away now that he'd seen his true nature. As the blade inches closer to Kim's neck, he squeezes his eyes shut and screams one word: "Reflect," causing Rogers to freeze in confusion for a split second before a brilliant flash blasts outward from Kim. Reinhardt slammed his foot down and suddenly unleashed all the damage he had been holding back in one giant burst. The explosion is so huge that it tears apart everything around it. Even after the smoke clears, you can still feel the heavy tension hanging in the air. Rogers is on the ground, barely clinging to consciousness. Kim still stands, though he looks completely drained. While Bernard warns that the structure has taken far too much damage and is about to crumble. Kim's last desperate defense to save himself nearly cost him everything. Bernard's heart shattered into 2 pieces. Still, he steps forward toward Rogers with his sword raised high. Rogers pleads to be spared, but Kim's eyes burn with a cold desire for vengeance. He thrusts the blade, landing a decisive blow on Roger, and steps back to let Liu end the fight. Immediately after that, Kim stumbles and falls flat onto the ground. Now that Kim has tapped into Bernhardt's power, the wound from Iron's blade won't close because the damage is too severe and his strength keeps fading out of nowhere. Someone calls his name and he looks up, hoping it is his sister, Yu Young, only to have the girl beside him frown and correct him, saying her name is actually Su Young. He sees a strange grin on her face as she drops down beside him. She tells him that if she saves him and finds the elixir he needs, he will owe her a great debt. Then she hits him with a teasing question about whether he is ready to risk it all for her or forever belong to her as her servant, though her playful words hide a much darker truth. Kim paused for a moment before finally lifting his hand to speak. He said he just needed a little more help to bring Iron down. He balled his fist tightly and vowed to bring the Iron Guild down. She told him he was asking for 2 huge favors now, but she still urged him to go through with the deal. Just as Kim was about to fade away, he made one final plea, asking that his sword be returned to the man with the white beard. His hand dropped and he immediately lost consciousness. Soo-young shook her head, unsure how many more requests he would throw at her next. When Ball arrives, he tells Soo-young that Kim is a complex character who looks friendly on the surface, but actually has a hidden, darker side that someone managed to reveal. She looks at Lou's glowing red light and asks Bal if he noticed that Kim didn't just accidentally strike down Rogers, but aimed straight for a vital spot with cold purpose, showing that even if this was his first time defeating an opponent, he did it without a moment's hesitation. Ball then wonders what she will do about the fading Rogers, who is still conscious but coughing weakly and barely holding on. Soo-young chooses to leave everything to fate, believing that Kim would rather see him spared. As she speaks, her hair begins to shift while purple energy washes over her entire body. And with a smirking smile, she declares that revenge always tastes better the longer you wait. Ball asks if she has returned as the Demon King, but she tells him to relax since that title was just a story people made up. She steps forward, glowing with purple light, and declares that she is the one destined to defeat the Demon King. Kim jolts awake to find himself all alone in a strange glowing grid, only to realize with a jolt that he is trapped in the same haunting dream that has bothered him for 5 long years. Bo's arrival had once driven the nightmare away, but now the terror has returned. As his hand brushes against the strange cold surface, every forgotten nightmare from his past rushes back into his mind. He realized he was trapped in a narrow stone well with no way to reach the world outside. The rope in his hands feels like a harsh reminder that he can never climb out on his own without someone pulling him up. A sad truth that even his dreams seem to mock him with. When Kim is swallowed by despair, the weary-looking Liu arrives to warn him that their bond has already been broken once before. Liu wonders how long Kim will keep it, and if borrowing strength is really any different from just taking it, especially since that power was originally his anyway. Earned or not, Kim stared down the fearsome demon and demanded its name. But before the demon could answer, another voice cut in. He turns to see Elle, glowing like an angel, offering her power and pleading with him not to give up. Kim's eyes snap open to find Ball watching him. He gives the man a suspicious look, wondering if Soo-young is somehow connected to the Demon King. Bal informs him his sword is right where it should be. And while Kim is surprised by his boss's sudden confidence, they are all relieved their master is finally awake. He advises Kim to rest, Even with healing potions, he shouldn't overdo it. The ground beneath them begins to tremble with a terrifying power. Kim looks up to see Sujang hovering in the air as cracks spiderweb across the land. In a flash, the ground erupts in a blinding burst of light. "What's happening?" Kim asks. Bile answers grimly. A monster command is in effect. A colossal metal beast with a fiery head and swirling magic bursts from the ground. Bal casually points, "That's Jay, the maze's master." Battered and bewildered, Kim stares at the strange figure and whispers, "It must be the gatekeeper." Bal nods, but warns, "This situation is far more chaotic than it looks." The thought hits Kim, making him realize the true scale of the chaos he's been fighting. Flames stretch towards Harren, yet she meets Soo Young's gaze. Perfectly calm as she drifts through the air, carefree. The monster's eye glows as a giant portal materializes behind it, pulling everything into its vortex. Kim stares in shock at the strange portal, demanding, "What in the world is that gate?" Bal shoves him aside, warning, "Get back. If that thing pulls you in, it's over." Kim clenches his fist so hard that crimson drops fall, searing a red circle into the grass below. An invisible bubble envelops him and Kim. He wonders if it's a dome, but Suku is already moving in to study it. The glowing barrier holds the monster at bay. Bright blue figures burst from the portal, 5 lizard monsters and a giant armored one, charging straight for Sujang. She stands firm, calm amidst the chaos. A surge of violet energy, the ink flame explodes outward, causing monsters to shriek as a massive sword wreathed in blue and violet fire appears. Soo Young simply raises a single finger. Inside the barrier, Kim stands frozen, his jaw hanging open. The sword radiates an aura so powerful, Kim recalls Roger's words. Artifacts like these are known as deities. The armored monster spins to face the blade. A blast of purple energy slams down from the sky, shaking the earth and scattering black lightning. A massive fissure splits the ground open. In a vast, cold hall of towering columns, a small chest holds a single glowing purple vial. Blue is all smiles, high-fiving Elle in victory while Kim snaps the chest shut, stunned that the legendary elixir is real. Later, Soo Young, Bao, and Kim stand together by a high wall. But instead of feeling relieved, Kim is only more confused. So Young assures him that she kept her promise to get revenge, but warns him she won't make it easy. Kim just nods, then asks if Soo Young is her real name. She smiles, saying she's Korean. She explains that both she and Bao have a special potion and then offers hers to Kim. He wonders why. She explains that this power is part of their deal. His body is too weak for revenge on its own. They're still hunting Hirian, and this is one way to fund that chase. Kim stares at the glowing liquid, remembering a time he would have given anything to possess it. He's done comparing himself to others. He'll find his own way, knowing Lu would mock his doubts. But be proud he never gave up. "What do you want in return?" Kim asks, playfully offering to serve her forever. Soo Young laughs, explaining it's not like that. Kim is stunned when she only asks him to be her student. She tells him he isn't strong enough yet. He must return after he's cleared the 50th floor. As her fingers brush his cheek, tiny sparks crackle between them. Puzzled by the sound, Kim holds up the glowing elixir. "This proves it," he declares. "We're in this together." Sitting on a rock, she explains the elixir isn't magic yet, but it makes the world feel sharper. She glances at his unusual swords, insisting he drink first. Only then will she teach him to forge an even stronger one. The first lesson: this path is treacherous and demands perfection. Outside, warriors battle through a sea of ash and thick mud. Kim stands frozen, his white sword gripped tight, as Ellen Liu warns him that Soo Young is a dangerous person who cannot be trusted. Kim begins to tremble with confusion, his gaze landing on Iron. Iron clutches the girl tight, his eyes locking directly onto Kim. He explains it was all a trick by the Demon King, revealing Soo Young had already defeated the maze boss while he wasn't looking. Kaiman simply declares that finders are keepers. She urges Kim to keep moving and stay on her trail. But as Kim breaks into a cold sweat, he starts to wonder if she might actually be the Demon King. He shouts Iron's name, then screams for him to turn around as Kim raises his sword, declaring he's going to take him down. Iron looks puzzled for a split second before grinning as if he knew this would happen. Kim began to wonder if he'd been tricked. Suddenly, a flash of purple light erupts, and Iron rushes forward with his sword swinging. He whispers to Kim that he has changed completely, now becoming the Demon King himself. He raises his sword high, prepared to end the fight now. The story shifts back to Kim inside the castle as he swallows the magical drink. Suddenly, a bright violet light pulses from within him. A message flashed on the screen, condition improving. But right then, a crushing weight slammed into him from the inside. His eyes fly open, shimmering with a bright pink light. As Bao and Soo-young watch him, Kim swears he feels no change, just a little better. Taking a breath, she explains that the elixir simply unlocks hidden skills with only minor physical effects. Soo-young watches as a tiny boost allows Iron Sword to zip past Kim's face in battle, proving how much a small change can mean for survival. He narrowly escapes as the sword crashes down with a loud boom, forcing Kim to shove himself backward to create space. Soo-young had already told him about the elixir's power to heighten his senses, and now Kim was finally experiencing that sharp awareness for himself. Now that the blur of Iron's speed finally clears in his mind, he can see exactly where the quick attacks are landing. From afar, Soo-young nods, approving of Kim's progress toward leveling up. Though Kim knows his current elixir isn't strong enough to defeat a pro like Iron Shield just yet, Soo-young explained that for now, his only move was to sidestep and wait for an opening, warning him not to use the sledgehammer to crack a nut. Kim recalls that Iron never truly lets his guard down. His calmness isn't arrogance, but the quiet strength of someone who never needs to prove his power. Just as she had hoped, Iron quickly pieced together the clues from their short talk and finally understood. Just as Soo-jang predicted, everything was unfolding as planned. This prompts Iron to finally take the fight seriously by summoning his sacred weapon, Kalon, and unleashing a surge of magical energy that ripples around him. He lunges at Kim, his sword sweeping through the air in a massive arc. Kim steeled himself to meet the blow head-on, holding on to Soo-young's advice. When Iron makes this move, he cannot pause or flinch, but must stand his ground and face the enemy with his own blade. But things quickly go wrong when a spark appears on Earth, awakening to drain the power from Kalon. Iron stood stunned as Elle explained his low power level could only absorb a tiny bit of energy. Before, the exchange ended instantly, leaving Blue to notice how thoroughly shaken Iron looked. Iron stumbled in shock as his unstoppable blow was stopped cold. Since he lost his power source, Kim seized the moment to retreat and put some distance between them. Now it's time for the final move. He reaches into his pack and pulls out the glowing thread balls belonging to Arachna. As soon as Iron spots Kim retreating, he goes berserk and charges forward, screaming that he won't let him escape. As Kim tosses the item, a thread loops around Iron in midair. Iron raises his blade to strike, only to find Kim has vanished right before his eyes. He throws a stream of curses into the air, but Soo-young just bursts out laughing, telling her companion to keep him busy with fun distractions. Iron freezes in his tracks as Soo-young calmly unleashes a massive flare of demonic energy. Meanwhile, Kim waits patiently for Sung-hyun outside the military base. After Sung-hun steps out of the car, they exchange a warm, friendly smile. Kim explained to Taikeki that Sung-hun was the one who rescued his mother and brought her home, which is why she never received the healing elixir at the hospital. Before heading out, he gives a huge thanks to both Tik and Sun-hun. In the quiet room, his mother opens her eyes to see her son has returned. He gently asks how she's feeling. She says she wanted to see him one last time before she goes and then starts to cry. Kim held himself together, promising that everything would be all right now. Her voice trembles as she tries to tell him something she's always wanted to say. But a sudden coughing fit makes her look even more frail. Kim gulps down the potion and his skin instantly lights up with a soft purple glow. After so much worry, she finally rests, knowing everything will be okay. Soon, she drifts off to sleep right there on the cold floor. Alan Liu commented that handling everything in one day was a heavy burden for her. And while they're still worried about her condition, there's not much more they can do. Later that night, a sudden flash of light wakes Kim's mom as her body slowly mends itself. The scene shifts to Yo-Yun calling her brother, but he ignores her, as usual. After 1 full month of silence, he finally sent back a single, short text. She threw the door open and shouted that she was going home to fix him up. Blasting the door open, she screams at him for neglecting their family and not even noticing the state of the house. Her mom suddenly asks if she's Yu-Young, causing Yu-Young to freeze. Her lively mother then urgently whispers to keep quiet because her brother is still asleep. Yu-Young began to weep. Unable to believe her mother had finally gotten better, as a strange noise drifted from the kitchen, the protagonist's eyes snapped open. The scent of his mom's soup fills the air, and he struggles to hold back his emotions. He gazes at the open door, knowing that on the other side is the hard-fought victory he's been waiting for. He forces a smile, pretending everything is fine. He swings the door open and shouts in shock, "Who are you?" His mother blushes, telling him she just finished making dinner. Eugene's jaw drops, completely stunned. Soon, word spreads that the special healing potion has gone missing. His sister couldn't believe that Kim walked to the gate, defeated the strong warriors, and brought back the magic potion that made their mom look younger, even though Kim himself never expected that side effect. Though she was just crying, Eugene felt lost and begged Kim for an elixir, but he just shook his head. Their mother offered her apologies, but he simply waved them aside, telling her the challenge wasn't so tough and that her son was more than capable. The following day, Taz stops by saying he has something vital to share and promising to drop by again soon. His mother invites him for dinner next time, thanking him for everything. Blushing, he promises to visit again very soon. While enjoying some pork and wine at a cafe, Taz laughed about the crazy way Kim got that special potion. He confesses he just can't stop craving the snacks that come with his. Noticing how Tick has been looking after his mom while he was gone, Kim asked if he had feelings for her, adding that his own dad wouldn't mind if Tick took his place. Tick's cheeks flush red, but he quickly changes the subject to the elixir. Kim explains they need a soundproof wall. Taz casually replies he has one in his car. Kim reveals they've got a tail. When Taz understands, he leaps up in a fury, acting like a protective dad and demanding their address so he can go take care of them. Kim calms him down and gratefully accepts his support, but firmly insists he'll take on the Iron Guild by himself. Taz kept playing the parent, insisting that true revenge could only come from deep bitterness and rage. He even gives Kim a piece of burnt meat to try and fuel his anger. But Kim just tells him to stop acting like his dad. Kim changes the subject, mentioning another debt he needs to settle before asking about the guardian on the 4th floor. Basic says the group has 37 players, and about 70% of them are T-class. The team is strong enough to take down the 30th floor monster and should return with good news. Late at night, a man runs frantically, shouting that the association must know the C-class subjugation squad has been defeated. He's badly injured, one of his arms gone, but something far worse is waiting behind him, a terrifying monster that brutally silences him for good. Sun Hun tells Kim that both he and his mother need a checkup after taking the elixir, but warns that only Tyak can do it, as a normal healer wouldn't be able to handle their case. He then mentions the yellow crystal, explaining he'd already sent half the profits to Taeshik, who reluctantly accepted it to pay off his debt. Sun Hoon recounted how he scoured the banks of the Bukkon River for the finest homes, presenting the best options for Kim to choose from. When Kim asked how they chose their new home, Sun Hoon explained that Taeshik had officially appointed him as Kim's personal assistant. Eager to start, he handed over his contact information. Outside, Sun Hun carried their bags, ready to go. He asked about Kim's plans for the money, whispering that a cool $8 billion was still in cash. Kim promised to clear his debt and buy new gear, prompting Sun-hoon to immediately ask just how much he owed. Kim gasped, stunned to hear the figure. 3.5 billion coins. Kim figured the guy who sold him armor on credit must be crazy, but admitted he was just as reckless to accept, vowing to work until every penny was paid back. They stepped into the armor shop. A small kid burst through the door, shouting with glee that a customer had finally arrived. As they stood by the door, Sun-hoon decided to wait upstairs, leaving Kim to meet the shop's owner alone. The blacksmith emerged and stared, shocked. He could hardly recognize Kim, who had changed so much in just a few months. Kim politely asked how the blacksmith was, but learned he'd only received part of the payment Kim sent. Kim started to apologize, but the blacksmith just laughed, explaining he'd already written off the debt, assuming Kim wouldn't make it back. He said Kim could pay the rest if he really wanted to. Then, after a short pause, his expression hardened as he asked if Bernard was gone. After a moment's thought, Kim nodded that Bernard had vanished into nothingness while saving him. The large blacksmith sighed, saying Bernard's fate was sealed, though losing the weapon was still a shame. He then turned to Kim, asking him to describe exactly what he saw in Bernard's final moments. The next day, while Kim was chatting with his mother, Eugene stared at him, puzzled, wondering how he'd grown so tall overnight and what could have possibly happened. At the office, Sun-hoon gaped at Kim in amazement, joking that he should be a model. Kim just told him to stop being ridiculous. Still in shock, Sun-hoon pointed out Kim had grown 3 centimeters overnight, crediting the elixir for his muscle growth. Kim's mind drifted to his sister, scolding him about a similar elixir from the past. As his own eyes darkened, he recalled how years of training hadn't changed his body at all. Not until he awakened and everything shifted completely. Then suddenly, a status window flickered open, revealing his body was undergoing a transformation. Kim muttered in confusion, only for Loa to mock his weakness. Kim snapped back, telling him to shut up. Later, Sun-hoon presented Kim's test results, starting with the stamina check. He joked that 25 years ago, Kim would have shattered Olympic records. Kim just frowned, asking why he was using standards from an Olympics neither of them had ever seen. Sun-hoon just grinned smugly, revealing Kim was only around level 10. Kim shot back that he should have just said so from the start. Sun-hoon then warned him not to be floored by his results. Incredible mana control and SS rank potential, signaling a top-tier class. But when Sun-hoon demanded he at least act surprised, Kim calmly replied that the Demon King had already told him everything, so he was just playing it cool. Taishik walked in and Kim confirmed he was finished, asking how Taishik's mother was doing. Taishik reassured him she was in perfect health, with surprising strength for someone her age. What was even more shocking was that an ordinary citizen like her could now use items. A stunned Kim asked if it was really true. Taishik promised to explain later, wanting to discuss something else first. He asked if Kim had been hunting recently. Kim explained he had to lay low for a bit while El absorbed the power from Khan. Taishik offered a quick apology, but Kim told him not to worry about it. Taishik asked when he would be back in action, and Kim figured it would probably be after the weekend. Taishik suggested he keep next week free, making Kim wonder if something was up. He explained they'd lost contact with the C-rank team and were scrambling to form a B-rank one. When Kim asked if the 4th floor guardian had been captured, Taishik said no, shocking Kim. The real trouble, he added, was the monster had started hunting players to get stronger. Just then, Sun-hoon stepped into the room, eager to join the conversation. Kim learned the B-rank subjugation team was actually a massive raid squad of over 30 members, mostly B-rank players. With no lectures to attend, Kim drank the elixir and focused on getting stronger. We arrived at Tashik's office, where he informed Kim it was time for the official class assessment. and told him not to worry about bringing anything. Taz suspects Kim is currently a Class D fighter, but he's convinced the kid's hidden talent will soon launch him to Class B status. He told him that a player needs to reach level 100 to join Class B. But Kim is confused because the rules for potential seem too vague. Ikasa explains that despite its name, potential is really about how much mana you can manage and use to fight more effectively, showing that flashy skills and high levels don't always determine a player's true strength. In the end, only genuine growth matters. But privacy rules now prevent players from viewing their levels, so Kim worries he'll stand out once he finally unlocks his class. Taz agrees that everyone will notice if the tutorial slayer suddenly jumps to Class B. And while Taz insists there's no hiding from the spotlight, Kim just wishes he could enjoy his newfound fame without the unwanted stares from the Iron Guild. Taz acknowledges his concern, but gently reminds him that he can't just choose his own class. Kim suspects Taz has a plan, since he told him to keep his schedule open. Taz thinks Kim will take the assessment because earning a class changes your public image. Kim feels trapped and wonders if he has any other choice. Taz suggests joining a guild temporarily just for the raid and offers to arrange a meeting. But Kim worries no one will accept a stranger who might bail right after. So Taz brings up the list. Kim Dong, captain of the Child Guild, steps forward, announcing he's leading the raid. He says they'll leave right after roll call and is looking forward to working with everyone. While a couple of groups relax nearby, the others greet him, thanking him for the opportunity to join. Sunil jokingly reminds them that after he saved their lives, this welcome is the least they could do. He adds that their guild is just there to provide support, not to lead the charge. Kim chuckles, noting that at least they aren't just on baggage duty. Suspecting a fight is imminent. While Sunil doubts they'll actually get to fight alongside the legendary Kim Dong, Kim suggests that Dong could be promoted to Class A, and that's when the real danger begins. Kim didn't mind the praise much, since titles like Demon King or Iron Shield meant more to him, but Elle insisted he was special while Lu just chuckled, saying Kim's expectations had gotten way too high. Anel jokes that Kim has gotten much more handsome lately, but J1 teases him about getting plastic surgery, while another member scolds him for being rude, and Lu agrees that Kim's cool new vibe makes him look like a completely different person. Kim insists he didn't have surgery, but Lu chuckles and calls it a weak excuse, saying Kim just uses a few tricks to seem taller. Tang-hoon confesses his jealousy, dreaming of having a skill like that, but Lu just teases him, so Kim steps in to cut him off. Just as the group prepares to leave, a Class B soldier shoots them a sharp, warning glance. Up on the 4th floor, Dong ordered the search team to track the Guardian while the rest stood by, and they all nodded in agreement. Later, while the team takes a break, Kim observes them and notes that Sun Pil is the archer, Hanel is the mage, Sun Woo is the swordsman, and Jan is the tank. Curious, he asks Sun Pil their guild's name. When he hears Morningstar, everyone bursts into laughter. Sun Pil explains that the name honors the moment Kim ran from the cave for help, a brave act that shines like a morning star of hope. He notes that Kim can finally let his guard down and chat more freely, since he no longer has to act as their guide. Anel wonders if Kim is Suku's age and asks if he can call him bro, so Kim nods in agreement. The Class B player laughed, saying the raid felt more like a picnic than a serious battle. Hun points at Nam Eunuch, a Class B member of their brother guild, who's tagged along for the raid. Kim asks for the guild's name, and Sun Hoon replies that it's called Survival of the Fittest, a group that holds power, tradition, and loyalty above all else. Sun Pil laughs, dismissing the guild as a bunch of old-timers, while Kim quietly mutters about kids these days. Eunuch then mocks Kim's group, calling them out for slacking off and acting high and mighty, just because they're on the raid. He orders them to grow up and stop messing around. When the group gets fed up, Eunuch suggests it's time for them to cut their losses and leave. Sunil feels bad for Kim and insists that he doesn't deserve to be treated so horribly. Kim is boiling with anger but keeps his head bowed in silence as Lu tries to calm him down. and Lu warns him not to lose his cool and do something reckless. Kim grows increasingly frustrated, wondering if the scars from his past ordeals are finally clouding his judgment. Or if something even stranger is at play. Dong steps in to ask if Kim saw the earlier commotion. He makes it clear that he's not there to question anyone. As the army's leader, he doesn't need every minor detail. Kim admitted they had argued and challenged Nam Eunuch to a duel to settle things before the main battle. Anouk stands there looking totally lost, while Kim's team wonders if a brawl is about to break out. Dong challenged the decision, pointing out the huge gap between Class B and Class C. Kim nodded in agreement, but added a crucial reminder that the Morningstar from Class C is just support, while the Class B guild is meant to carry the fight's main burden. He then suggests they swap places, apologizes for the delay, and pleads for one last chance to be trusted, only to face instant pushback from a Class B member who questions his authority while others fear he'll break his promise. Kim boldly challenged anyone to beat him for a massive 500 million, leaving the Class B team stunned, feeling like they'd just been handed a golden opportunity they couldn't miss. Gong is absolutely floored, realizing that feeling he had earlier was the real deal. He agrees on the spot, declaring he will lead the subjugation army under this new condition. They meet on a field. The rules: no weapons, stay in bounds, and the fight only ends when one side quits. Snall held Kim's sword steady as she took a cautious step back, her heart pounding with worry about the distance between them. Lu casually noted the stronger fighter always gains the upper hand as they connect. So, Elle just warned Kim to be on his guard. The Class B player lets Kim go first, wanting to drag out the fight for his own amusement, while daring Kim to show his true power. A chill ran down Kim's spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Kim notices his Class B opponent seems full of openings, but he worries it might all be a trap. Instead of overthinking it, he chooses to trust his speed and make the first move. He charges forward, throwing a flying punch driven by pure rage. Kim couldn't tell if his opponent's lack of a flinch was unshakable confidence, or if he was secretly planning a powerful counter. But there's no turning back now. When the count hits 0, Kim will dodge the attack and rush in to strike. Kim throws his entire body into a powerful punch that slams into his rival's stomach, knocking the guy flat on his back. The man is out cold, lying completely still. As Kim's teammates stare in shock at his new power, Dong feels a wave of unease that declares Kim the winner. He feels trapped, unsure of his next move. Just then, 3 men find Captain Dong, telling him the search party has returned. Inside apartment 43 of the guild building, the president of the Korean Players Association chats with Tad, who informs him that they have already dispatched their Class B subjugation army, which has been en route since Friday morning. As the guild president reads through the player names, he recounts their journey from the association's underground training hall to the global transfer portal, noting the player is now so successful that Sun Yoon has become his personal assistant at a private hospital. It's honestly absurd how he keeps wasting special rewards on someone who isn't even on his team. He meets Tazik's gaze, revealing that he has some incredibly serious news to share. Suddenly, the players brace for battle as a giant red-eyed monster appears on the mountain, a man clutched in its grasp to show the sheer danger of the moment. Kim knows that players face enormous risks during these chaotic battles, but you can never get used to watching a friend fall to a monster like that. His eyes burned with fury as he yelled orders to the soldiers. Kim stepped forward, reminding everyone their assault starts with the captain's first strike, followed by the team unleashing their strongest attacks to overwhelm the Guardian. Just as we feared, the creature transformed into a feral beast and unleashed its full fury upon them. As the frontline tankers start to falter, others rush in to take over. The captain called upon the Earth's power, raising a sturdy stone wall for their protection. The tankers slam their shields into the ground, bracing for the monster's charge. But as the beast strikes with all its might, the players hold their ground, activating their barrier skills in perfect unison. Next, the damage dealers hurl explosives over the wall, while the archers rain down arrows from above to support them. Suddenly, a barrage of attacks crashes down on the monster. All at once, a massive explosion like a miniature nuke blasts outward, sending everyone flying. Kim saw that the plan was simple, but effective. Even as the chaos subsides, the monster still sounds enraged. So, Sunpill's friend advises them to hang back and observe, rather than charging in blindly. Sunil was sure they had earned their spot on the front line. But before he could say another word, a massive blow crashed into the stone wall, shattering it into pieces. While the players froze in shock as the monster tore through everything, Kim realized that if their plan failed, all their hard work would crumble into nothing. Just then, the monster let out a roar that sounded like a wild animal breaking free from years of pain. Even though the players fought with all their might, the orcs overran the battlefield. One orc flung a player across the room as if they were nothing more than a log. A player shouted for Young Woo to help him. It felt like half an hour had gone by as they were already drinking healing potions. But Young Woo pointed out that the fight had only started 5 minutes ago. The player stared at Captain Dong, wide-eyed with amazement at how well he fought the orc. Dong went on a rampage, striking with lightning-fast blows that landed with perfect precision. But when he glanced behind him, he noticed something that worried him. The orc's wounds knitted back together with a speed that rivaled the toughest guardians in the land. With his attacks failing, Dong shouted for his team to change formation and ordered the back units forward. Tunel nudged Kim to hurry and get ready. Kim agreed. A hero is someone who saves their friends. 18 years ago, a colossal monster emerged from the ground, unleashing hordes of beasts to ravage the world. Until a few brave souls awakened special powers and became the players who would save us. Now, they stand as our final shield, their stories already becoming legend.